one thing I representing a man for Uptown TV. You understand?
July 5. Yes, once again, good afternoon. You're locked into DJ Lollipop holding it down for Mutabaruka here inside the Steppin Razor. Tell us something, them say, foreign are no better roads. Sometimes some people go foreign, but it's like foreign so nice, them no want to come back. Some of them may not see them back. But one thing, you have to be careful.
The Met Service is monitoring an area of disturbed weather in the region. Principal Director of the Met Services branch, Evan Thompson, in a video this morning, said the system could affect Jamaica.
An area of disturbed weather associated with a tropical wave that's moving into the Central Caribbean, and that could also affect Jamaica with a lot more rainfall in the next couple of days. So we're watching that very closely, hoping that it will not develop into a tropical cyclone. Unlikely right now, but there is a possibility, and so we're watching it very closely. But of course, we have to maintain our alertness right through the hurricane season that takes us right through till the end of November this year. The system has already passed the Cayman Islands and is now heading toward the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico. And so we're happy that we are now past the worst of it. We've been bombarded by strong winds, by heavy rainfall, and also by those battering waves from the storm surges. And right now, we're picking up the pieces, I believe mopping up, because we did have some lingering rainfall across the island during the course of last night. That was the night of July 3, and we are now starting to see things drying out quite a bit.
The main road to Gordon Town Square has been reduced to single lane for vehicular traffic due to land slippage in several areas on the route, starting at Industrial Village, in addition to the entrance near Savage Pen. A check with the Gordon Town Police confirmed that the main roads leading into Mavis Bank and Guava Ridge remains blocked in some sections, while residents told RFM News that Penfield suffered extensive damage to roads as well as utility infrastructure overnight. Meanwhile, we caught up with a councillor for the Mavis Bank Division, Lloyd Benjamin, who was actively touring the area this morning.
The entire division is suffering from landslides. The communities of Westphalia, Ozlite are marooned. They completely marooned because of major landslides. Toy, Lime Tree as well. We have also partial landslides in other communities like Dumpling Castle. The main road from Guaverage to Garden Town is blocked in spaces. The tractor is on its way up to start the clearing. We have also downlight poles along the way as well.
Lloyd Benjamin, councillor for the Mavis Bank Division. I met some members of the Jamaica Public Service LDC Spanish Town Road and Ruthven Road work crew along the route to Guava Ridge, who explained that they were working to restore power in some areas by this afternoon, and hopefully the majority of the East Rural St. Andrew communities by tomorrow. From East Rural St. Andrew, Dwight Fraser reporting for IRFM News.
When our news team visited the streets this morning, only a few businesses were open, leaving residents and other persons using the road with little options to replenish their supplies at home. Of note, several businesses up to 9 o'clock this morning had their shutters down and windows still sported plyboards covering them and securing their businesses. Most roads were down to single lane, and in some instances, trees were thrown across the road, and some of these were cleared, allowing motorists to travel single access. We stopped by the Christiana High School, where some 7 persons were sheltered through the hurricane period, and by 7 o'clock this morning, most had returned to their premises, leaving only a 70-year-old man who stated that he was taken to the shelter and he wanted to have been taken back home, but he was waiting up to that time this morning. Meanwhile, while we traverse the environs, Homewood Technical, we recognized that the auditorium, the roof there, had section of it was destroyed by the hurricane. In other instances, the roofs of a number of houses within the Spalding area and also Christian Sedberg are notably destroyed.
That report from our Manchester correspondent, Leon Nash. The Jamaica Public Service, JPS, says power restoration efforts in some areas could be delayed by roadblocks and landslides. Teams from the utility company are conducting damage assessments across the island following the passage of Hurricane Beryl. JPS is also urging customers with generators and solar panels to ensure that their electricity is not flowing back into the grid, as this could be dangerous to power line workers and members of the public. The company says it will continue to provide restoration updates throughout the day. Customers can get updates and make reports via the MyJPS mobile app and its social media channels. The Health Ministry says there were 3 cases of carbon monoxide poisoning related to the use of generators. The affected persons are all females, ages 9, 30 and 52. They are being treated at hospital. As a result, the Health Ministry is urging persons not to use generators indoors or in enclosed areas. It adds that generators should be kept in a dry area and at a safe distance from structures because of engine heat. Persons should also avoid using appliances that have a heating element, for example, a toaster or hair dryer. The ministry explains that persons should select the outlet that uses the correct voltage, as some generators have the ability to produce 115 or 120 volts or even 220 volts. Meantime, the Health Ministry is reminding persons to safeguard themselves against the impact of Hurricane Beryl. Citizens are urged not to go outside until absolutely necessary. If they have to venture outside, they should wear water boots or closed shoes. Persons are reminded to wear gloves when clearing debris or disposing of dirty water. They are to seek immediate health care in the event they get a punctured wound, such as a nail stick. The ministry also says children should not be allowed to play in the water outside. The island's courts remain closed today and tomorrow due to the impacts of Hurricane Beryl. This to allow comprehensive assessments of all court facilities and to ensure that the premises are safe for the resumption of operations. The judiciary says it intends to resume operations on Monday, pending the outcome of the assessments and any necessary repairs.
Important message here from Sagicor.
Sagicor Group Jamaica hopes that you and your family are safe and well in the aftermath of Hurricane Beryl. The company wishes to advise that it is currently finalizing safety and wellness checks for all team members and locations across the island. A reduced team complement will be available at the following Sagicor locations to service limited transactions from 11 a.m. today to 3 p.m. Sagicor Bank, 17 Dominica Drive, Kingston 5, Sagicor Life, R. Danny Williams Building, 28 to 48 Barbados Avenue, Kingston 5, and Alliance Financial Services Limited, Ligani Plaza. Sagicor encourages clients to utilize all available ABMs and online platforms, including e-banking and client web, as well as company websites. The Client Support Center is also available at 888 Sagicor, that's 888-724-4267. Please stay tuned to Sagicor's social media channels for further official updates.
Because after the storm, life goes on. The Transport Authority is advising its customers that all its offices and pound locations will reopen on Friday, July 5. So that's a message from the Transport Authority. And ensuring the safety of its employees, Red Stripe announces that operations will resume on July 5 as the company navigates the aftermath of the hurricane. Red Stripe extends its best wishes for the safety of all Jamaicans and urges everyone to take the necessary precaution. So that's a message there from Red Stripe. Flow. This is a public service announcement from Flow. Flow advises its customers that services may be unavailable in some area due to fractural damage to loss of power caused by Hurricane Beryl. Our teams are assessing the damage and making every effort to complete the repair as soon as possible. Flo thanks you for your patience and encourages you to stay safe while we work to get you connected. That was a public service announcement from Flo.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness toured sections of the island today which were ravaged by Hurricane Beryl. The Category 4 storm swept across several parishes yesterday, resulting in damage to roads, homes and other infrastructure. Earlier this afternoon, Mr. Holness did an aerial view of Rocky Point in Clarendon and sections of St. Elizabeth, which reportedly suffered significant damage. Mr. Holness noted that Jamaica is now in the recovery phase. Speaking with Canadian media CBC this morning, Mr. Holness noted that the recovery phase entails assessments and allocation of additional funding where necessary.
We have now transitioned from the preparedness phase into the recovery phase, and that the first element of the recovery is the assessment. That assessment has already started and is ongoing. As I'm finished with this interview, I will be doing an aerial survey with the Jamaica Defence Force to get a better assessment of the scale and extent of damage. And then from there, we will move into the various budgetary allocations necessary to start recovery. But our works entities, as I've said, are already mobilized. They're already out. And our social security entities are already out doing assessments of damage and needs.
Crews from the NAA island-wide have been going around and cleaning and clearing. We have managed to reopen several corridors around the country. We still have some, though, where works are in progress. Number of corridors are being impacted by downed JPSCO poles and wires. And so in those circumstances, we have to work closely with the JPSCO in having those impediments removed. One crucial corridor that we're actually working on now with a view to regaining access is the Bout Gorge. It is not yet ready to be reopened. We hope that we'll be able to do so later today, latest tomorrow morning, so that we can get persons moving through that space once more.
Just a further follow-up this morning. Norman Manley International Airport will open tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. The Sangster International Airport will open today, just dealing with some cleaning up operations and, of course, working with JPS.
Transport Minister Darvaz, he said the Ian Fleming International Airport and 3 domestic aerodromes, Tinsipen, Negril and Ken Jones, have been inspected, and despite minor damage to structures in some parts of these facilities, the runways and terminals are fine and in order for operation. Therefore, these facilities reopened at 7 o'clock this morning based on the time stated in the notice to air missions that was used for the closure notice. Passengers and stakeholders in the travel and tourism industry are advised to stay tuned to announcements by the respective airports and their airlines regarding the recommencement of operations and flights. The Jamaica Public Service, JPS, said power restoration efforts in some areas could be delayed by roadblocks and landslides. This as 400,000 customers are eagerly waiting for power to be restored following the passage of Hurricane Beryl. Teams from the utility company are conducting damage assessments across the island. JPS Director of Corporate Communication, Winsome Callum, stressed the importance of understanding the level of damage before restoration can begin. She explained that the assessment phase is both for the safety of citizens and JPS workers.
The JPS teams have been deployed since 7 o'clock this morning. They've been out doing damage assessment. Now, this is one of the most critical phases before we get into the actual restoration or turning on of the lights for our customers. Damage assessment allows us to see where the system has been impacted by the network, the exact nature of the damage, and it also gives us a sense of the customers that can be immediately restored. So that is a necessary part of the process, also for safety reasons, for our workers' safety, for the customer's safety, and also for the safety of the networks.
Ms. Callum knows that following the assessment, entities that provide critical services such as hospitals will receive power first.
We are giving priority to critical services like hospitals, the airports, the telecom services, National Water Commission, and so on. As we go along and give service back to these critical services, we'll also be restoring customers. We're aiming for the power lines that get the most persons back on. We also are looking, as I said earlier, at the areas with the least damage or where there's no damage at all that we can restore quickly. It is too early to say how quickly everyone will be restored because it is a gradual process. So we are asking our customers for patience because it's essential that this is done in the right way, observing the right safety protocols so that everyone can be okay at the end of the day.
Director of Corporate Communications at JPS, Winsome Callum. JPS is also urging customers with generators and solar panels to ensure that their electricity is not flowing back into the grid, as this could be dangerous to power line workers and members of the public. Meantime, Opposition Senator Peter Bunting has expressed concern about the pace at which the Jamaica Public Service, JPS, is working to clear down power lines and poles from roadways. Senator Bunting said he toured sections of Manchester today and no JPS team was seen carrying out the necessary works.
I'm very disappointed that I've been on the road from morning and I have not encountered one JPS repair truck. We're on the main road, the main east-west corridor at Spur Tree. There's a pole here blocking the road. There are a number of poles that have been broken, JPS poles. And being up and down from morning on roads, I've not seen one JPS vehicle, I've not seen one NWA vehicle. And the weather has been clear from morning. There's been nothing preventing the operations from taking place. So I would have expected that vehicles would have been pre-positioned, particularly knowing that the Clarendon, Manchester and St. Elizabeth were the areas that the meteorologists had predicted would have been most heavily impacted. So I'm very disappointed today.
Mr. Bunting, who is also the caretaker for South Manchester, said there is an urgent need for relief supplies to be dispatched to affected communities in the parish.
The Alligator Pond and Grovetown divisions are badly damaged. We cannot even properly assess it because there's so many blocked roads, so many trees down and so many GPS lines down, but a lot of roof damage, many homes and businesses without roofs. The Alligator Pond community more broadly has been badly damaged. I think we need to get relief supplies to the communities down there as quickly as possible. And what makes it even more challenging is that the cell phone coverage is very intermittent. So the communications infrastructure seems to be affected as well. So, we can't even get regular bulletins from various community leaders to find out what's happening. But I'll be on the road as much as I can be.
Areas will vary in terms of their restoration. A number of the facilities across the western side or those that are in low-lying areas may take some more time because of their remoteness, because of the water level, because of the risk factors involved. And notwithstanding that, though, we are going to see how quickly is feasible to restore them. A number of our major townships are now being restored. The Great River is presently back at 50%. Our team is carrying out work with the JPS at our Martha Bray facility. Our Bogue facility in St. Anne has run throughout the hurricane, so too the Constant Spring and the Mona systems in Kingston. And we are targeting the other large systems to ensure that critical infrastructure, critical institutions such as the health centers, the hospitals, security institutions are all restored, in addition to places that are being used as shelters at this time.
He is urging persons to boil water intended for consumption.
If there is any doubt, contact the NWC or to simply boil water following the recommended steps from the Ministry of Health in terms of addition of any chlorine or bleach chemicals to it. At this time, we know water is a vital resource, and again, we're committing to providing it to you as quickly as possible.
Acting Corporate Public Relations Manager at the NWC, Delano Williams. A 9-year-old girl is among 3 females hospitalized due to carbon monoxide poisoning related to the use of generators. The Health Ministry says reports reaching its National Health Emergency Operations Center indicate that the other 2 patients are 30 and 52 years old, respectively. Generators are reportedly being operated in their homes during the passage of Hurricane Beryl. As a result, Director of Health Promotion and Protection in the Ministry, Dr. Simone Spence, is urging persons to take the necessary precautions when using generators.
Do not use generators indoors or in enclosed areas. Keep generators in a dry area. Water will damage generators as well as produce an electrical hazard. The generator should be kept at a safe distance from structures because of engine heat. Avoid using appliances that have a heating element, for example, toasters or hair dryers. Select the outlet that uses the correct voltage, as some generators have the ability to produce 115 or 120 volts or 220 volts.
Director of Health Promotion and Protection in the Health Ministry, Dr. Simone Spence. And as Jamaicans try to regain normality in the aftermath of Hurricane Beryl, the Health Ministry is warning about the risk of diseases such as leptospirosis. The ministry said due to heavy rainfall, the risk of being infected with such diseases increases. Persons are therefore advised to avoid swimming, wading, or playing in flood waters. The ministry also says Jamaicans should avoid food that could be contaminated with animal urine. Persons are to wear protective clothing and footwear if they will be exposed to contaminated water or soil. And Jamaicans are also being urged to take steps to prevent mosquito-borne diseases such as dengue. The Health Ministry said persons should search their homes for places where water may have settled and clear them. They are to use mosquito nets and destroyers, put screens on windows and doors, and avoid places with standing water or garbage piles. The family and friends of 26-year-old Alrif Moncrief, who was washed away by flood waters during Hurricane Beryl yesterday, say they have no choice but to wait for news about the discovery of his body. The former Arnett Gardens under-20 player was reportedly playing football in the St. Andrew-based community about 4 p.m. when he went to retrieve the ball from a gully and was caught in the raging waters. Moncrief's family, who launched several search efforts since yesterday, is now fearing the worst. His aunt, Sylvia Knight, told RFM News that the day was spent traveling to various areas to view bodies with hopes of identifying her nephew. Miss Knight said with each trip, the ordeal became more difficult.
No, it's not him, because when we reach over Port Henderson, the police said that the body gone to KPH, and when we went down there, no John body didn't come down there. Well, I'm sitting at my house, I'm waiting because we get a call saying 2 bodies, it come over Archer, and my niece is on her way over there, so we're just waiting on the call to verify if it's him.
Sylvia Knight, aunt of 26-year-old Alric Moncrief. The Child Protection and Family Services Agency, CPFSA, says all children and staff at its 50 government and private residential childcare facilities and places of safety are safe and secured following yesterday's passage of Hurricane Beryl. CPFSA's Chief Executive Officer, Lorette Adams-Thomas, noted, however, that at least one facility is in need of repair. She said steps are being taken to have repair works done soon.
Our management team, as well as members from our disaster management committee, met at our emergency operations center, where we monitored all the childcare facilities across the island throughout the storm. We're happy to report that all the children under our care and the dedicated staff who weathered the storm with them, they are all accounted for and are safe. The vast majority of our childcare facilities are also okay and are only in need of minor repairs. We do, however, have one facility in the southern region which did see damage to the roof of the kitchen, the dining room, and to one of the dorms. The children were relocated safely to other dorms at the facility, and we are now seeking to secure mattresses to replace those that got wet in that dormitory. A damage assessment is currently being undertaken, and we are currently making plans to have the repairs effected as quickly as possible.
Mrs. Adams-Thomas also noted that some childcare facilities and CPFSA parish offices are without power.
Some of our childcare facilities are currently without electricity, but they are utilizing other appropriate ways of coping until power is restored. Some of our parish offices are also without electricity, and this may impact our level of efficiency in executing all the services we provide. But we should be back at full efficiency once power is restored.
CPFSA Chief Executive Officer Laurette Adams-Thomas. The Jamaica Council for Persons with Disabilities says it will be collaborating with the Ministry of Social Security to offer essential aid to individuals with disabilities in the aftermath of Hurricane Beryl. These works will begin tomorrow. JCPD says it's dedicated to supporting recovery efforts and pledges to work closely with the ministry to ensure a return to normality. A new business venture for the tourist resort of Ocherius was destroyed during Hurricane Beryl. Chairman of the St. Ann Municipal Corporation, Mayor Michael Belnavis, said the Pokoloko floating bar was dislodged from its base on the Ocherius Bay and ended up miles away near the Belmont River. It was smashed into two. The facility, which was recently opened, was expected to provide employment opportunities for close to 80 persons. Mayor Belnavis said the floating bar was also looted. He states that this is a devastating loss for the owners. It's reported that the project represents an investment of $1 million.
So much earlier as last night, we were getting reports that the barge was just out there floating by itself. Apparently, it got unhooked from the anchor, and it eventually ended up in the reef right beside Little Duns River, where it got smashed into two. It's just there sitting there. Part of it is just sitting right there at Little Duns River. People have started to loot it, from what we understand, and it's been a devastating loss for the owners. They made an investment of $500,000 in the product. They were looking to have it open this week, and it was still liquor and meat, everything ready for their inaugural event, and all that has gone up in the hurricane.
The mayor says he hopes the owners will want to continue the business.
It's really sad for them because it's a big investment. I'm not sure if they're insured. I hope they are, but I'm just encouraging them to just pick up the pieces and try and see if we can get it going again, because it was a great idea. They put a lot of effort into it. We really are sorry that it had to happen this way, but I hope the owners strengthen your resolve to get back in business.
Meantime, at least 5 houses were reportedly damaged in Ocherius, St. Ann, after trees fell onto the structures. Mayor Belnavis, who is also councillor for the Ocherius division, said 4 of the houses are in Mansfield Heights and the other is in Pineapple Place.
There were 4 houses in Parkland, Mansfield Heights, 1 in Pineapple, where trees actually fell on the houses. Several large trees, breadfruit trees, and some other type of trees that fell into the houses. These houses are wooden structures, so they were demolished at certain parts of the house, but no one was injured, fortunately. Thank God for that.
Mayor of St. Anne's Bay and Council for the Ocherius Division, Michael Belnavis. He highlighted that members of the community in Ocherius and its environs came together to help clear roads that were blocked by fallen trees. Several areas in East Rural St. Andrew remain affected by the passage of Hurricane Beryl, with several roads still impassable due to downed power lines and trees. Massive landslides have also been reported in Mavis Bank and adjoining communities. Dwight Fraser toured sections of East Rural St. Andrew and filed this report.
The main road to Gordon Town Square has been reduced to single lane for vehicular traffic due to land slippage in several areas on the route, starting at Industrial Village, in addition to the entrance near Savage Pen. A check with the Gordon Town Police confirmed that the main roads leading into Mavis Bank and Guava Ridge remains blocked in some sections, while residents told RFM News that Penfield suffered extensive damage to roads as well as utility infrastructure overnight. Meanwhile, we caught up with a councillor for the Mavis Bank Division, Lloyd Benjamin, who was actively touring the area this morning.
The entire division is suffering from landslides. The communities of Westphalia, Arzelite are marooned. They completely marooned because of major landslides. Toy, Lime Tree as well. We have also partial landslides in other communities like Dublin Castle. The main road from Guava Ridge to Garden Town is blocked in spaces. The tractor is on its way up to start the clearing. We have also downlight poles along the way as well.
Lloyd Benjamin, councillor for the Mavis Bank Division. I met some members of the Jamaica Public Service LDC Spanish Town Road and Ruthven Road work crew along the route to Guava Ridge, who explained that they were working to restore power in some areas by this afternoon, and hopefully the majority of the East Rural St. Andrew communities by tomorrow. From East Rural St. Andrew, Dwight Fraser reporting.
There was minimal infrastructural damage across the corporate area this morning as general assessment is continuing following the passing of Hurricane Beryl yesterday. However, a scan of the general corporate area saw uprooted trees, broken branches, strewn garbage, uprooted and bent street lights down the lines along major streets, thoroughfares, avenues and lanes. Moving throughout the corporate area, it gave the semblance of a Sunday morning stroll, with most business places remaining closed while a handful of people were seen moving about. From as far as Mandela Highway, heading into the corporate area, and as far east to Harborview and Bull Bay, there were many broken branches of trees, strewn garbage littering both sides of the roads along most of the thoroughfares as remnants of the storm's passing. There are also many fallen signs and billboards, downed electrical lines and uprooted trees. The corner of North Street and Orange Street saw the uprooting of a tree that tore down the fence, falling on the lines, causing the malfunction of the stoplight in the general area. Many of the intersections, including Thornton Bridge, that had stoplights, saw motorists moving with caution as they were not in working condition. There were bent light posts along the Hero Circle stretch, with workmen from the JDF seen quite busy in the general surroundings. There was also a downed street light at the intersection of Eastwood Park, Hackley Park, and Maxfield Avenue as it was held up by dangling lines. Along the Lyndhurst Road near Maxfield Avenue, there was an uprooted tree that has reduced the passing lanes to one as motorists proceeding with caution. There was also a loaded ackee tree falling along the road across Windward Road. Moving throughout the corporate area, persons could also be seen doing repair work to their general premises. Meanwhile, in the commercial district of downtown Kingston, there was minimal damage, and vendors were up and about getting their sales going, while most of the business places remained closed. From the streets of the corporate area, I am Roger Haspel.
When our news team visited the streets this morning, only a few businesses were open, leaving residents and other persons using the road with little options to replenish their supplies at home. Of note, several businesses up to 9 o'clock this morning had their shutters down and windows still sported plyboards covering them and securing their businesses. Most roads were down to single lane, and in some instances trees were thrown across the roads, and some of these were cleared, allowing motorists to travel single access. We stopped by the Christiana High School where some 7 persons were sheltered through the hurricane period, and by 7 o'clock this morning most had returned to their premises, leaving only a 70-year-old man who stated that he was taken to the shelter and he wanted to have been taken back home, but he was awaiting up to that time this morning. Meanwhile, while we traverse the environs, Homewood Technical, we recognized that the auditorium, the roof there had section of it was destroyed by the hurricane. In other instances, the roofs of a number of houses within the Spalding area and also Christian Sedberg were are notably destroyed.
Right now, we're looking at an area of disturbed weather associated with a tropical wave that's moving into the Central Caribbean, and that could also affect Jamaica with a lot more rainfall in the next couple of days. So we're watching that very closely, hoping that it will not develop into a tropical cyclone. Unlikely right now, but there is a possibility, and so we're watching it very closely. But of course, we have to maintain our alertness right through the hurricane season that takes us right through till the end of November this year.
He noted that Hurricane Beryl, which ravaged Jamaica, has passed the Cayman Islands and is heading towards the Yucatan Peninsula.
The system has already passed the Cayman Islands and is now heading toward the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico. And so we're happy that we are now past the worst of it. We've been bombarded by strong winds, by heavy rainfall, and also by those battering waves from the storm surges. And right now, we're picking up the pieces, I believe mopping up, because we did have some lingering rainfall across the island during the course of last night. That was the night of July 3, and we are now starting to see things drying out quite a bit.
A tropical wave is expected to move across the island on Friday evening into Saturday. This will influence unstable weather across the island. A ridge is then expected to build across the island on Sunday. Additionally, increasingly windy conditions are expected to begin on Saturday afternoon due to the presence of a low-level jet stream. Tonight will be partially cloudy, while tomorrow is expected to be mostly cloudy across eastern parishes with scattered showers and thunderstorms across most parishes. The government of Grenada has requested a triggering of the debt payment suspension clause in several loan agreements after the island was devastated by Hurricane Beryl. According to Caribbean National Weekly, this clause is activated in response to natural disasters like hurricanes, earthquakes, or health pandemics affecting the country. Grenada last requested such a suspension in 2020 during the COVID-19 pandemic. Prime Minister Dickon Mitchell stated that Hurricane Beryl's passage has resulted in significant socio-economic impact, necessitating substantial resources for the country. Finally, storm surges and rough seas continue to affect the Cayman Islands. Beryl made landfall on the islands as a Category 3 hurricane last night. According to the Cayman Compass, the hurricane primarily affected the south coast of Grand Cayman, while other areas experienced minimal damage. While government agencies conduct their damage assessments, residents throughout the islands have been given clearance and water access has been restored.